Welcome to Josh's Green Garage. In this video, I have a small accessory to review and do an install for you guys, but I think I'm actually going to do an alternative to it. So let's get into it. Okay, now what I have for you guys is in this little box. So, I recently had all my issues with the PTO on this tractor. I decided everything that's going on, I'm gonna just get rid of it. So I have it removed now, and at this point I wanna do a little something different with the rear end because I'm not a fan of just this tiny little hitch plate here. So we're gonna add an accessory to it. So what I have in this box is part number, let's see, is it on the outside? I don't see it on the outside unless they covered it up. I'll put a part number there in the video, but essentially it is this little hitch plate. Notice I said little hitch plate. So I kind of made a mistake. I figured there's a lot more you could add to the back of this tractor, a lot more utility that you could add to it if you have, a hitch. So I knew Deere made one of these, and I was like, you know what, I'll get that, make a video for it, whatever. You don't really see too much about this hitch, I don't believe. So I figured we'll talk about it. So went on Deere's website. I can't remember if I got this on a sale, if they were doing a sale at the time. But anyway, ordered this, got it shipped up here, and opened it up, and then I was a little bit disappointed right off the bat, not gonna lie. So I screwed up when I read the description. Turns out it does mention that it is a 1 1/4 hitch, but I was expecting this to be a 2-inch. I guess I just assumed that on the back of one of these tractors, if they're gonna sell an accessory hitch, that it would be 2-inch, because, I mean, who uses 1 1/4? I guess the weight rating of this isn't like a heavy duty truck to where you could put, a 2-inch, receiver, hitch on there and then pull like a giant boat. But I know a lot of people use these for moving boats around and doing different things. And some people use the front built-in 1 1/4 hitch for different things, which is fine. But the rear axle being on these things is pretty beefy, and a lot of, hitch accessories these days are all just 2-inch. So you're pretty hard pressed to find anything in 1 1/4 unless it's just a ball mount. To try to find like a D-ring shackle mount or anything like that, there's some out there, but they're kind of pricey. It's a lot cheaper to just get a 2-inch one. So, bottom line, if you are interested in this hitch, I mean, it does seem to be decent quality. There's nice looking welds along the sides. You have a lot of different holes here that you can, put the hitch pin through. So no matter how you want to actually add, an accessory through there, it's kind of like the front. There's a lot of different holes on the front one that you can put a pin in multiple directions for whatever you need to do. And then you can see it's got 6 holes here where it mounts. If we look at the tractor, which you'll see later, there's actually only 4 holes, however. But that's okay. The reason they have these 6 is because you can mount this either underneath the hitch plate or you can mount it on top of the hitch plate. And you need all 6 holes in order to do that because the holes on the tractor are in different locations. So overall, I mean, for a 1 1/4 hitch, it is what it is. I mean, this is probably like 1/4-inch metal, nothing super beefy, but I mean, you can see it is very tiny. Like I said, I was a little bit upset. I'm not actually going to use this. I'll show you guys what I'm going to use. And I'm actually probably just going to sell this on the JGG eBay page. So I'm going to throw that up there at some point. If you guys are interested, keep an eye out on it. You could pick one of these up cheaper, probably with shipping. I'm probably going to sell it for about what it costs to buy new. So essentially you can get one for the price from Deere with essentially free shipping. I'm not going to try to make a ton of money back on this. It does come with your bolts and stuff for it. So these are going to be unopened. I'm not going to use those. And then of course you have the instruction sheet. So everything in here is essentially new, unused. But yeah, you got just basic instructions here. Tells you how to mount it. gives you torque values, which is pretty cool. But that's pretty much it. So what am I going to use instead? Well, that hitch itself is like, I think a little bit over $70, which is kind of crazy. There again, it's Deere, so you're paying for the name. But what can we do otherwise? So I bought one of these a while back to put on my trailer, to put a cargo carrier on my trailer. This is a Harbor Freight Haulmaster 3,500 pound step receiver hitch. So I got one of these before. I knew they made them. I decided to look back into it, and I wondered, I could probably just bolt one of these to it, and then I would have a 2-inch hitch. So I got one of these sent up here, and look at this. Much thicker metal. I'll show a closer up comparison of these. You got actual 2-inch. You got a reinforcement around here. You got actual chain, attachment points here for your safety chains. It's got like a nice kind of like matte, almost like a bed liner kind of finish. It's like textured. There again, nice welds all over. You don't have as many pinholes on the sides, depending on how far in or out you want your accessory to sit, but you will be able to put a lot more accessories into this. And I'll go over some of those later once I get it on. The only thing we're gonna have to do is modify this a little bit. So I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer and I'll show you what we'll have to do to modify this. So you can see here what these hitches look like a little bit closer up. You can see the difference in thickness of the metal there. Remember, you're paying $70-something for this one. This one will only cost you, I want to say like $22, $23. So a lot cheaper. The only benefit I'm going to have is I'm going to kind of have a template that I can get holes off of. I can transfer the holes from this onto here. You can do it with the tractor as well. So I'll have a little bit easier time, but I think overall the time you'll have to put into this, if you have the means to modify it, which I would imagine most people with a tractor like this that are into something like this are going to be able to have those toolings and stuff. But you can see for the price, it's going to be a much better option. Just the little bit of work you got to put into it. So let's get into it. All right, so now at the back of the tractor, you can see the hitch plate here. You can see what I was talking about, how these holes are in kind of weird spots. I would venture to say this is due to, if you have the PTO unit, you could still have this hitch on mounted in the downward position. You would put it on here like this, and your holes would line up. If you flip this over on the top without the PTO, you still have holes there. It would line up. You can put this any direction. And then note that you still have this hole open that you could do a pull behind. However, when we go to put this bigger 2-inch on, you're gonna lose this, but we'll gain the ability to put, a 2-inch hitch in there that has something like this on it. Personally, I'll probably end up making one of these. I'm gonna have to, but I'll end up making one of these hitches with probably a thicker steel than this plate on it with a hole that same size. And it'll look like this, about the same dimensions. So I'll be able to slide that in there, and then I'll have, a heavier weight rating, pull behind implement hitch. So if you're pulling something heavier with it, if you make something custom that weighs a lot more than a typical, Brinley made attachment or something like that, you'll be able to put that on there and not worry about bending this or anything like that. All right, so I moved you in a little bit closer, and I'm just kind of gonna show you, you can see how much bigger this piece is when it's in here. I'm pretty much gonna set this up so it just covers up this portion of the hitch there. That way when I do make anything to go in here, it's not gonna be really interfering with that too much. So we'll probably set that around there, like so. I'm gonna have to do some stuff to make sure this is all squared. I might go off of, these brackets here, or, I'll do something to try to lay this out. I'm probably not gonna show that on camera because I'm gonna have to be in here and it's just gonna be weird getting video of that. But I'll explain what I did afterwards. You can also mount this to the bottom. Again, you're gonna have to modify it regardless. You could mount it like that. The only thing is, your hitch is gonna be really low in this position. I mean, it wouldn't be a problem. You still got quite a bit of ground clearance, but like, honestly, like if you go putting like a double ball hitch in here, that bottom ball is going to be really low to the ground. So honestly, I'm going to put mine in this top position. And I feel like that would probably be the better bet. That way also, you go making a hitch to go in here to do pull behinds, you can put your piece of metal under it, and then you're essentially going to be at the same height of the original hitch there. So you won't have to do really any adjusting. Obviously, you could make the same thing, flip it upside down when you put it in from, if you have this hitch on the bottom side, it's all going to end up being the same height. So that would work too, but me personally, I would rather have this a little higher for some other accessories that I'll show you at the end of this video once I get this actually bolted on there. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this going, and I'll show you what I get once I got my holes laid out. Okay, so I marked this pretty simply. First, I just took a pencil, marked the center of the back here, and I don't know how well you can see, but it may not look super centered on camera, but believe me, it's centered. So then when I put this on top of here, I can look through this little cutout here, line that mark up with the center of this, and then the front. I mean, that's pretty easy. So that's kind of how I lined it up. Then as far as my marks on here, you can kind of see little impressions there. I just took this drill bit. This is a 27/64, and it fit tightly into these holes. That's snug. There's barely any side-to-side play. So that gave me a good center, and I just twisted it a little bit by hand to mark this. So now I'm going to go over to the drill press, make some pilot holes in there, and then just start upsizing to this size. This one back here that's going to be like right on the edge. It might open up into this hole just because of how close it is, but I don't see that being a problem when it's all said and done. If you really wanted to get into it, you could fill this with weld. I'm not going to worry that much about it. So I'm going to go get this set up and do some drilling. All right, so here it is. I just set it up here so I can take a look and see what's going on. But here's my new holes. This one you can see it kind of went into that other one, so where it was pretty close, there was a very thin little bit of metal. I just kind of filed that away a little bit just to open that up. But you can see how close these holes get to the weld there. This side's not quite as close. So I mean, overall, like that's pretty well centered. I mean, you can see those holes came right up essentially to the weld. We got about the same there. So it ended up being pretty square overall. Pretty happy with it. I ended up drilling these up one size from that bit I said earlier. So I think it was like 7/16 maybe what I ended up doing this drill to. I can't remember off the bat, but I'll put it in the video. These bolts I got, these are M10 bolts. The ones that come with it, you know, they're this metric size. They're not a standard size. So yeah, so the way this will go on here now, set that right on. And then these two bolts on the side, the flat part of the head fits right up to that weld, so they sit on there nice and flush. The ones on this side, however, do not, no matter what you do. So what I did was I had some of these washers laying around, and I ground the side down on my belt grinder enough that it'll just fit in there right up to the weld, and I can probably stack two and have enough. I did 6 of them just in case, but yeah, 2 is plenty. So I can put that on there, and now I have enough. I can get that on there tight. The only thing is I'll have to look under there and see. I don't know if I have quite enough grip length. Oh yeah, I got plenty of grip length with this nut. Yeah, so that'll fit on there good. Perfect. So yeah, that worked out. So yeah, I'm gonna get this all bolted up, and then I'll show you some ideas of some stuff I had that you could do with this. Here's the hitch all bolted on, nice and solid on there. This is, you know, the exact same bolt pattern that you would have. I did not modify this lower hitch plate at all, so you can see you can bolt one of these on there. Wasn't too hard to do. It doesn't take too terribly long, you know, just maybe a couple hours just getting everything set up, drilled and everything like that. But all is good. Definitely a bit beefier than the Deere one. So now I'm gonna just show you just a couple things, and just a brief explanation of everything that I could see using this for. So first off, just of course, a simple hitch. This is just a simple 2-inch receiver, double ball hitch. This one's a bit long. I think if I was ever gonna use this for anything, I would push that back in there further and re-drill some pinholes. That way it's not sticking out. You would want the hitch, being as close to the axle as possible. That way you're not putting any undue stress further back. So I would definitely modify this specific hitch a little bit. Others aren't so bad. A lot of them have quite a bit shorter of a distance, but that just happened to be this specific hitch. But with this, something like this, you got a 2-inch and a what is it, 1 7/8 ball on there. So you can move, a variety of small trailers and things like that around with this. So pretty handy. I know a lot of people like putting a hitch ball on, and I think this is a better idea than putting it on the actual hitch plate itself, because if you do that, then you want to tow a little pull behind thing with one of these pins or whatever. You got to take it off, and that could just be a pain. Whereas something like this, it's a lot quicker, especially if you make a little hitch to go in there that has a little hitch like what would be standard on this type of tractor. You could just swap these in and out real easy. Honestly, you could even get something like this. Maybe it only has one ball on it. Maybe you only need a 2-inch or whatever the case may be, and then on the other side that's flat. I know Harbor Freight even sells stuff like this, but if it's just flat on the bottom, you could even weld on something onto the bottom, and then you just have one hitch to do both. But then you're not really limiting yourself like you would if you just stick a ball rig on that factory mount. So I don't know, that's my take on that. Maybe it's a little too much to go to all this trouble when you could just stick a ball on there. Maybe it is easy enough for you to just take it off. I don't know. For me though, I feel like you have a lot more flexibility with something like this. So my next thing, and one of the reasons I wanted this for myself, was for something like this. This is a just D-ring shackle mount. I'm gonna put a pin in here real quick just cause. But this is just a little D-ring shackle. You would use this for recovery. I had this for my ATVs, but I wanted to put something like this on the tractor. Because this year so far, I haven't put my 3-point on here at all. So I don't really have anything like super heavy duty to really pull if I were to get this thing stuck. Now, knock on wood, I haven't gotten this stuck yet plowing, but I've kind of gotten a little more adventurous this year, the 2 times that I've had to plow, but I mean, I've still got a couple months yet to plow. So there's a possibility that that could happen, and I would much rather have something dedicated to pull on. It just makes it a lot easier going through something like this. I don't want to wrap anything around this plate because it's not really ideal. That pinhole itself is really small, and it wouldn't be ideal to put one of these like shackle pins or whatever through. So having something dedicated like this is just a lot more, a lot stronger, and just a lot more sound of a pulling device. So I'm probably going to have this in here from now on for quite a while, just to have that flexibility if I do need to, get the truck out and pull this thing out of the snow. So I could see this being really beneficial for a lot of you guys that are plowing with these things in the wintertime, especially if you're, out in the sticks and, have some land. Maybe, you're trying to push stuff down a hill. Maybe you get down a hill and somehow get stuck at the bottom and just cannot drive it back up. So you got to get your truck out to, pull it back up. This is, a great recovery point. So this is another, really beneficial attachment, I would think. Now, I don't have one yet, but I kind of explained it with something like this. I'm going to get just a piece of 2-inch outside diameter steel like this. I have some real heavy, well, I shouldn't say real heavy. I think it's like 3/8 steel over there, just flat bar steel. And I'm going to use that to make something like this to be a regular standard tow hitch. So it'll go in there, it'll be cut off, you know, quite a bit shorter, and then I'll just have that tab sticking out, you know, a little bit. It'll just be that same shape. So that's something you could make, or maybe you could find one somewhere. I don't know. I'm going to just make one just because it'd be kind of fun to do. But that would be the next, like, I think really beneficial, something you're going to pretty much have to do if you use this setup, because I don't have access to that pinhole now. So I'm going to have to come up with something there. One of the things I'm hoping to get into is making some more like miniature ag equipment, you know, pull behind stuff. So like a big disc cultivator, things like that, which are going to be a good bit heavier, so to have a little bit more stout of a hitch to pull them with, that would be kind of cool. Honestly, end of the day, this is probably overkill for this tractor. It's just the fact that like so much stuff is 2-inch. Realistically, the amount of weight you're going to put on one of these things, you'd probably be fine with the 1 1/4 from Deere. You know, so I'm not going to knock that one. I just think for its price, it's not really worth it compared to getting something like this that you now can put probably all the attachments that you already have, you know, in there. So yeah, now I'm going to move on and show you the final thing that I could think of that I have that I like on hand that I could show you guys. I'm sure there's plenty of more things. I actually do have one more I'll explain real quick. Basically, if you're looking for a really cheap way to add rear weight to one of these and you don't want to buy the weight bracket, the John Deere weights, all that stuff, you can go on something like Facebook Market, Craigslist, you know, what have you, find some lifting weights that have like the Olympic bar hole in them. Get yourself a piece of, you know, 2-inch steel, find yourself a piece of, you know, round stock that would fit that, you know, Olympic style weight hole in the middle. Then you'd be able to slide something like that in there. You could, I'm not sure offhand what this inside of an Olympic weight is, but if you could slide that bar inside here, then maybe weld it up, whatever the case may be. And then you could slide those Olympic weights on there, put a little clamp on the end. And I mean, you could add quite a bit of weight to the back of one of these for really cheap, you know, if you're into that sort of thing, looking for ways to save money. Because I know the Deere weights can get pretty expensive. You could buy, you know, used weights for a lot less. All right, now here's one that I think a lot of you guys are probably gonna like, especially the ones that like being able to cart tools around, maybe a 5-gallon bucket for trash or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're into gardening and want to carry a bunch of different gardening stuff around. So you can also put one of these little cargo carrier baskets in there. Please ignore the condition of this one. I literally just brought it in from outside, and I kind of have it modified a little bit to be able to fit my toolbox on here for when I move and things like that. But you can see this could be a really viable option if you don't want click and go, you don't want any of the fancy like 3-point cargo carriers, whatever the case may be. You know, something like this could be, you know, a very good, you know, idea if you're looking for an easy way to carry stuff around. You got plenty of room on here. It sits behind the tires, so you don't have to worry about tire interference. You could put, you know, probably, I don't know, 3 to 4 or 5-gallon buckets on here. Let's see. Well, I can't get my buckets apart, but you can see you could easily fit at least 2 on one side. So, you know, you could definitely get a lot of storage on here. You know, a couple of them, you can put some tools across there, you know, a big toolbox on there, whatever the case may be. You have, you know, quite a bit of options there of different things you can do. So this is what I could definitely see a lot of people doing. Alternatively, if you wanted to make some sort of like homemade sprayer attachment, you could put a tank on here. You could, you know, have your, you know, sprayer nozzles be here at the back. You know, like I said, I could just really see this being, you know, a valuable upgrade and a way that you could use this. Well, that's all I got for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I gave you some good ideas there, some good uses and stuff. I didn't want to just be like, hey, bolt this on and whatever. I wanted to at least provide some reasons that you could use this and how I plan to use it. I think it's going to be a very, very beneficial upgrade. Like I said, I'm not going to knock the John Deere one. I mean, the ease of putting it on, you don't got to drill anything. Like, obviously, they made it to fit this thing. So if you're on one of these, go for it. This one specifically, completely unused. So I'm going to throw this on my eBay page. You just go on there, search Josh's Green Garage, no spaces. And then you can find this. In the description of this video, I'll just put its status. So if it's available, I'll put available on there. Once it sells, I'll just put it in there. Hitch is sold. That way you guys aren't going there wasting your time. But yeah, so if you're interested in one of these, you can score it for, it'll equate out to the same price that you would pay from Deere. I may not send it in this box, depending on what shipping for it is. I might send it in like a flat rate, so it may not have this factory box, but all the stuff, manual and everything, will be included. So that's all I got. I do apologize for not having a video up. If you've been following the channel, it's been probably at least 2 months or more. It's just unfortunately wintertime. I've only really plowed with this thing twice. I've already got a few plow videos up, and I'm going to be moving before long here. So I'm not trying to start any new projects or anything like that. So, videos right now are pretty few and far in between. I'm still answering comments as much as I can, things like that, but just unfortunately bear with me during this time. I'm just not going to have a lot coming out. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, have a good one.